1 year into this pandemic, and there's still a lot to learn about the long-term effects of COVID-19 and many hurdles still in place for COVID long haulers, including insurance coverage for treatments and for the tests needed. Dr. Andrew Carroll recently posted a tweet saying, in part, quote, "I think I'm finally broken. Insurance company denied a CT test on a young woman with post-COVID syndrome, and while describing why I wanted it, I broke down in tears." That tweet retweeted and liked thousands of times. Dr. Andrew Carroll is joining us live now to talk about that and also just about the past year. I feel like we talked right when you were about to begin working as an emergency room physician to help out during this global pandemic, family practice doctor, and your perspective is really critical here. So first off, the long haul syndrome and some of the tests and scans and treatments needed. What are the hurdles you're going to encounter?
Well, honestly, one of the biggest hurdles is really understanding what it's all about. We're only just starting to see this, and we're only just starting to understand it. And we're trying to figure out what tests to do. Is it an echocardiogram for the cardiomyopathy? Is it a CAT scan of the head for the brain fog? We don't know the answers to these questions, so we're trying to do different tests to figure out what's the best way to diagnose it and to then provide prognosis to the patient. The problem is the insurance companies are using very old rules in this new reality. And so they're throwing up all kinds of hurdles in front of us. Why do you want a CAT scan? Why do you want an echocardiogram? This patient is young. This patient doesn't have any health problems. And we're trying to explain to them, we want to figure out what's going on here. But they keep throwing these hurdles up to making it difficult for us to provide those answers. So it just became frustrating. I had done 24 nocturnal shifts at the hospital, nearly 300 hours. I watched a lot of people die, watched a lot of people go home in wheelchairs where they were perfectly healthy beforehand. And just to get to this point in my clinic and trying to help these people get back on their feet, get back to work, get back to their families, it just became too much. It became overwhelming. And again, I'm not a crier. I cry with my patients when they're sick or dying. I don't cry with insurance companies, but it just became so overwhelming. And that's what happened with me.
Dr. Carroll, very briefly, if you had a friend or family member who had COVID, maybe didn't get extremely ill, but wants to know what the long-term impact is going to be on the body, what would you say their follow-up should be? Just the basic things moving forward this year or the next?
So I think it's important to kind of figure out where you were before you might have gotten sick. So if you were fully functional, athletic, maybe you were running 4 or 5 miles a day, you got sick in January, and now come March, now you can only run like a half a mile, and now you're totally winded. So you're looking for those big differences, where you were at baseline and where you are today. And then kind of figure out what all those things are. Then go see your doctor. Go have that conversation. We'll help you figure out what's going on. We'll help you figure out if this is just a temporary thing or if this is maybe a long-term thing that you need to be concerned about.
Dr. Carroll, it may be an impossible question to answer, but looking back, is there a moment in the hospitals that stood out to you the most? It kind of encapsulates this year that's gone by?
I think it's just my most recent experience at the hospital. We're seeing many younger people coming to the hospital. That stems from Christmas and New Year's. A lot of people got sick because they got back together prematurely. That's what we're seeing now in our community, right? We're seeing a little bit of an uptick in our positivity, and that's because Governor Ducey reopened it. Younger people being hospitalized in intensive care, no previous medical problems, and now they're dying or dead. That's what struck me, and that's actually really got to me. That was my breaking point.
Dr. Carroll, thank you for the work that you have done, and that you put yourself in there when it was needed, and for sharing what it has been like and giving us your perspective over the last year. We appreciate it so much.
Thanks so much, Olivia.